My name is Lilian Girichi. I am the Clarity Master. I am a strategy and growth expert. I work with business leaders, professionals, and founders, bring clarity into their business. But our approach is clarity driven, where we start with your why purpose, but we also build the person to run the business as we make strategies and tactics for their business. Today's class is actually out here in nature, a space I prefer to be able to introduce our programs. Our episode today is actually on cash flow worksheets, budgets, projections, and planning. And I'll be doing it from here just to shift the environment and give you a little bit of clarity from a different setting. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my season 2, episode 8. On this season, we are focusing on clarity in business strategy and growth, but on this episode, we'll be focusing on cash flow worksheets. It's something that is very creative that you can use on your laptop in Excel sheets or in Google if you don't have a system. But if you have a system that can handle this is just a simple projection for an entrepreneur. So it has a combination of cash flow, budgets, and projections that will help you in planning. So what you have here is a month's planning, projection, budget, or a cash flow worksheet. So the previous season, we were talking about debt management. So this season is about how to manage your debts and actually how to plan your finances to ensure your business is not starving. This gives visibility. I know we have better ways, we have systems and all that, but for an entrepreneur, I myself use this worksheet because it gives me visibility. I actually use the reports or the plans I get from my system and just do this for myself to give me visibility. So I'm going to show you components. So normally in a normal worksheet, it has up to 3 months. So I've just done 1 month because my board is small. But if you look at that worksheet, it's divided into several components. We have the first component, which is money in, basically receivable or cash that you're expecting to come in. So the first section has owed and collection. So what does it mean by owed? It basically means what your debtors list, what is owed to you and expecting to receive this month. So remember, it's for this particular month. So if, let's say, Lilian owes you, how I like doing it, I like putting in the total amount. It doesn't matter the sum that is going to be paid next month or this month. So I put in the total amount, assuming I'm owed 70,000. But I have a payment plan with Lilian. So she tells me that she's gonna put in, let's say, on week 1 at 10,000, then pay another 10,000 on week 4. Okay, I'm just feeding it in for your visibility. So with that in mind, I know that from Lilian, I'm budgeting 20,000 from her this month. So why do I need to have the budget here? It's very important because I'm doing this at the beginning of the month or on the last day of the previous month. So why it's important to have this is because Lilian can come and say that I don't have 20,000, but I'm able to pay 10,000, or she's just paid 10,000. So at the end of the day, she'll have an actual of 10,000. So why is it important to track this? Because you have expenses to pay down here. So it's also important to know how much you're expecting this month. So I'm just going to use just a one figure for the sake of this, but I always advise entrepreneurs to have sections. Where are you getting this money from? It's very important. But for the sake of this board, you're going to just have one collective month. So we are saying this month I'm targeting, let's say 100,000. This is just an example for easier calculation. This month I'm expecting to do 100,000. Okay. So in your budget, you have 100,000. So let's say you have other people who owe you. Say, give it another 50,000 here. Then you've been told week 4, week 2, you're gonna get paid 30,000. The balance of 20,000 in week 4. So for me, my budgeted, I know this month I'm going to be getting a 50,000. So my cash in this month and projected, I know I'm getting, let's say this is it's 100,000. So 570 plus 100, 170. I can possibly make it a figure, 200,000 for easier calculations. Odd 40 with a budget of 567, 170, expecting maybe 20 there and a 10 here with a 30,000. Good. So in that month, I have my projections as it is without any effort. First of all, we start from there without any effort. So I know my budget is 200,000. Okay. So in this case, I'm not going to use cash negative because I'm encouraging cash positive. So we know we are owing, let's say supplier X. You owe supplier X. These are the debts now. You owe them possibly a 500,000. Let's start with that first. First, place down the expectations. Your total operational expenses and cost of goods sold based on what you're expecting this month is possibly coming to, let's even give it a higher figure because I want to show you how to adjust this. So operational expenses, assuming your operational expenses are at 150,000, but you owe 50,000. Give it one. We'll give it one figure that is gonna get me to show you how to raise money from this. So I can use 80,000 owing for you. So in your budget at the end of the month, you know you need 8 plus 5 is 8, 3. 150 plus, choose a figure if you're going to use to calculate well. Let me just say 100,000. So you owe 100,000. Your operations are 150. So that means 250. Let's say you paid all your taxes. So your budget for that month, what you expect to go out is one. You need to pay 100,000. Then the operation expenses, these are fixed costs. There's nothing much you can do. You need to pay them to keep your business afloat. So in total, you're required to pay 250,000. Okay, this is fixed. So when you look at it, from the budget section, your budget is really not okay. Even for planning, you're going to struggle because you have a deficit of 50,000. So this is the time I sit and work out a strategy. I don't want to be on cash negative. What do I need to do to be on cash positive? So these are questions I will always ask myself. Considering this is just a budget, Lillian can come and say she doesn't have money, so I'm off 20,000. That means I'm only left with 180. Or even in worst case scenario, the people I had hoped to pay are not paying, so I'm only possibly gonna get 100,000. So that is all a risk you always need to have. So in your strategy, remember in episode 7, I talked about coming up with revenue generating incomes. How do you do that? What you actually need to do is go back to the drawing board, look at your revenue streams, and focus on this. What I tell people is sometimes when you focus too much on what is owed to you, you lose your focus. So assuming they don't pay, you're only left with 100,000 compared to 250,000, which has to be paid. Come up with strategies on your revenue generating streams, which is this month's collection. Work out strategies. How can I raise the revenue quickly for sustainability? So remember at this point, you're at survival. We are moving you from survival to thriving. You always need to be thriving, not surviving. But in this case, this has caught you. So you're trying to stay afloat. You need to come up with plans that will cover this deficit. So as just for your sake, because this is a risk, forget about this part. When it comes, well and good. But how do I raise the deficit to at least get myself at a point of balance, which I call a break-even point? How do I raise 150,000 to cover this deficit here? So always have it in a plan. So you need to actually put the deficit here, come out with working strategies, that will raise your budget to 150,000 to be at break even. So this moves from 200 to 250 with the assumption that there's a chance that these guys who owe you are not going to pay, but you're working with what is actually coming into your organization. So when they pay, the better, because you'll be having an extra of 100,000, which is good for your business. So now, with that said, please remember, work out working strategies to raise the deficit. But this is survival mode. As an entrepreneur, you need to move from survival to thriving. So this is just for survival mode. So as you go on through the months, you actually become better at it. So we are still at the budget level. We want to get at 0. So remember, you still have a deficit. This one is uncertain, but you're coming up with plans to raise it. So with that said, this is the most important, tracking. So at the beginning of the month, these are your projections. So it has sorted your budget, your projection, but you need to plan. So you need to put in the effort. What marketing initiatives do I need to put? First of all, to get the 100,000 if you don't have retention, and 2, to generate revenues for 150,000. So where you do this, you want to be proactive, not reactive. If you don't have this, you're operating on a reactive mode, which will actually mean that you're waiting for week 4 to try and pay your bills. That may not work. So why I have these weeks here, it's because depending on how your money is coming in, that is how you need to pay out. So remember, we said you always need to be on cash positive. You don't pay everything that you have. So if the actual you've received is 10,000 there, at the payment side, you can only give what you have. So your expenses ideally should be at 10,000, but know that whatever you had planned for this week needs to be moved to the next week. So this amount, you need to spread it across the week to see how to generate revenue for yourself. So at the end of the day, when I keep saying cash positive, those terms, and I keep talking about cash positive, first of all, if you have money in 200,000 and money out 250, that means you're on cash negative, and that is going to strain your business. You're going to be in debts. If you want it to be cash positive, this is knowing that you're getting this 250 and this additional. So I'll put in the money here at 300,000 to get you to a cash positive, and your money out at 250,000. So you are at a surplus of 50,000. This is what I call cash positive. So don't drain your accounts to a point where you are at negative. Always aim for cash positive. And how you'll ask me is by coming up with revenue generating strategies around this money in area. So this is a survival strategy, not a thriving strategy. So in seasons to come, I'll show you now from moving from survival to thriving. But if you're in that position where you're having debts and you feel your finances are choking you, this is a tool that can actually help you. So you're taking steps by steps, not chewing everything at once. You're taking progressive steps towards the next level. So this surplus, you'll ask me, what do you use? So remember, this whole 50,000 that you get, you don't just go pay debts to clear. You need to balance. How do I divide this 50,000 to generate revenue and clear a bit of the debts? So you're building progressively to a point that you'll be able to even have a huge excess that clears off the debt. So again, don't get me wrong, clear debts are the best places. That means freedom, especially for a solopreneur or an enterprise that is not yet at the corporate level. So with that said, this is a simple work plan that will help you ease out issues right now. But remember, this is not the solution. This is just to give you visibility. So you always need to move from survival to thriving. However, this tool will get you from point A to point B of surviving. So thank you very much. I hope I've been very helpful. So if you want more information, a guide on how to do your cash flow worksheets to get you from survival to thriving, get in touch with us on our contacts shown below. You can also enroll into any of our programs that focuses on this particular area of moving you from debts to thriving. Even for this class, we have very nice workshops that gives you practical solutions to get you to the next level. See you in season 3, and thank you for listening to me.